Hi, this is Pepper from SchoolCity, and I'm going to show how using OpenSALT we can create a framework, create standards and associations within that new framework. Then I'm going to show creating a crosswalk framework between two different frameworks with associations between two different frameworks. And then I'm going to very briefly show OpenSALT's chooser mode, where we can use OpenSALT as a chooser for standards inside a different application. Okay, so here I'm on a SchoolCity implementation of OpenSALT. I'm going to create a new framework here. I'll call it Beekeeping 102 Course Standards. I'll enter my email here. And you could see I could enter other stuff here. I can use this to manage version, manage what status it's in, and so forth, but I'm not going to bother with that stuff right now. So I've created a framework here. Okay, now I can start adding things to it using the user interface here. So I'm going to start by adding some folders here for each week of an imaginary course. Okay, so I'll add a week 1, and I'll add week 2, and I could keep going there. Then within week 1, I'm going to make this item a parent item, and then I'm going to add a child. And let's do a week 1 assignment 1 here, and I can enter a human coding scheme. Let's call this 102.w1.a1. And you can see there's other metadata I could add here. That's all specified by the case standard. And I'll create that item. And here's my item. And you can see how I can build up a tree structure, whatever arbitrary structure I want, using the user interface tools here. Okay, now that I have an item here, I can create associations between this item and other frameworks. So I select the item here, I go to create associations, and then I choose another document over here. So for example, I have another framework on my server here for Beekeeping 101 course standards. I could open that guy up, and maybe this week 1 assignment 1 in 102 is related to the week 5 assignment 1 from 101. So to create an association here, I just drag and drop from the item on the right to the item on the left. Here I can decide what kind of relationship this is. So maybe so the week 5 assignment 1 precedes the week 1 assignment 1 from 102. So I can make this a precedes relationship. I switch the order here because the 101 assignment actually precedes the 102 assignment. I click associate, and then that creates that association. So now if I go back and view the item details for this item, I have that association listed here. Now I can also relate this association with, or relate this item on my server with an item on a completely different server. So here I'm going to open a document, and I'm going to open an external document. I will open here an implementation of the Common Core standards that's living on a different SALT server. It actually doesn't have to be, we don't have to just use, we're not limited here just to instances, to frameworks served by SALT servers. Any system serving a framework in the case standard can be opened by OpenSALT. But in this case, I'm going to open this guy from a different case server. Now here's a representation of the Common Core standards. I go down and find the one that is related, and then I can drag and drop to create these associations. And here I'll just say that this assignment is related to this standard. I'll create that association. I could do that for another one. I can also do a batch here, so I could associate both of these guys at the same time. Create those associations. And so if we go back to these item details here, we can see all the associations that I've saved here. Okay, now I'm going to back up here and just show quickly how to create a crosswalk association. So here I have a framework that I've already started working on. So here the framework that I have itself doesn't include any standards of its own, but it includes, I can use this framework to do crosswalk associations. So the way to do that is, so I changed the document that I'm showing on the left. So let's show on the left that same document. Yeah, so this is that same document I was just looking at, or a similar one anyway. This is loaded off of the PCG's instance, one of PCG's instances of OpenSALT. And then I can create associations, and here I will open up a document on one of OpenEd's instances of SALT. So you see this is on the coming from the OpenEd server. Load this document up. So this is North Carolina Math. And here I can go in and find the standard that I'm interested in on the left and the standard I'm interested on the right, create an association here, and create this crosswalk association. Okay, and I can see the associations here. I can also go to this, instead of looking in tree view, I can go to this association view, and this just shows in table form all the associations in this framework. So for a crosswalk framework, this is probably the better way to view these. And this is a searchable form, searchable table. I could limit to certain types of associations, and so forth. Okay, then the last thing I'm going to show is, I actually didn't show this at the IMS meeting, but I'll show this in the video I'm making here. We've implemented a way to use OpenSALT as just a chooser for standards that you can use within a different application. So here's an authoring tool for a system that SchoolCity is developing called Popcorn. And we want our items here to obviously be aligned to competencies. So rather than implementing a chooser and a whole database structure to implement case in the Popcorn system, we can just take advantage of OpenSALT. So here I have this hooked up so that when I click the choose button, it opens up a frame. And inside the frame, it's connecting to an instance of OpenSALT and then loading a framework through OpenSALT. And again, this framework could come from any server or anything that's generating a case formatted framework. So here I can browse through the standards in this framework. I can see the details for any of these items, and then when I find the one that I want to choose for the Popcorn authoring tool, I just click choose, and then that sends the data for that standard back to Popcorn, and then we can use that here. And there's this takes obviously a little bit of coding on your application side to make this work, but it's actually a very little amount of coding. And there's a document in the GitHub directory for OpenSALT that describes how to do this. I'll include a link to that document along with this video. All right, thanks.